I call the regular successor agency to the RDA meeting of January 14, 2020 to order at 5:55. Lucy, can you please do the roll call?
Thank you, sir. Director Trimble,
Here.
Director Maravilla, Director Farfan,
Here.
Vice Chair Member Roa, Chair Member Alvarado.
Thank you, Lucy.
You have a quorum, sir.
Right now, we're going to public comments. This is the time for members of the audience to come forward to address the agency on items on and not on the agenda, but within SARDA's subject matter jurisdiction.
Yeah, this is.
Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. There being none, public comments are closed. Public hearings, we don't have public hearings. Consent calendar. Does anyone want to pull any item from the consent calendar for separate discussion? May I have a motion to approve the agenda in its entirety as presented?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. There's no discussion items. There's no new business. There's no closed session. Are there any oral staff reports? Are there any oral agency reports? No. There being no further business, I hereby adjourn this meeting at 5:56 p.m. until the next regular meeting to be held on Tuesday, January 28, 2020, at 5:45 p.m. I hereby call the regular City Council meeting of the January 14, 2020 to order at 6 p.m. The invocation will be led by Lucy, our City Clerk, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Victor Farfan. Can you please all stand?
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of bringing us together today. We thank you for the gift of life and all the blessings that you bestow upon each and every one of us and our families. We ask for your continued guidance. Please be with the council as they conduct the business of the city. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the flag salute.
Wait, time out. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Right hand over your heart. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, please conduct roll call.
Thank you. Councilmember Trimble,
Here.
Councilmember Maravilla,
Here.
Councilmember Farfan,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Roa, and Mayor Alvarado.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. We don't have proclamations or certificates. We're going to have a presentation, oral presentation and update by the Hawaiian Garden Librarian, Carolyn Reed.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Alvarado and esteemed City Council and staff and assembled residents. Happy New Year from the Hawaiian Gardens Library. We've got a few things coming up. It's been a little bit slow this month, but we're picking up steam. Our Smarty Pants Storytime has started up again. We had a very big group last time, so we hope to keep that going. And that's for children 1.5 to 4 years old with their adult caregiver on Fridays at 10:30. We also are doing our STEAM activities with our Make-Mo-Mobile. We have 2 different sessions on Tuesday the 21st. We have one for kids and we have one for teens. At the kids one, we are going to do rock cycle magnets. Are you ready to rock? Come rock with us. And for the teens, we're going to talk about what's shaking California. We're going to look at fault types and try to build a structure that can withstand a quake. So I hope to see you. The children's one is at 4, the teens one is at 5. On Friday, the 24th, we have Claudia Hindu coming. She does art with adults of all abilities, and so we were going to explore beginning art techniques with her on Friday at 10 a.m. And then going into February, on February 1st, we'll start our celebration of Black History Month by making quilt code cards. It is rumored that quilts contain codes that helped slaves when they were looking to travel in the Underground Railroad, and we're going to explore that. On Tuesday the 4th, a workshop just for Hank. It's Hong Kong street food. Come over to the library at 5 o'clock and learn about Hong Kong street food. There are samples for participants. It should be really yummy. The 7th, again, is Smarty Pants Story Time. And just to let you know, we will be closed Thursday, the 13th of February, all LA County libraries. It is our staff development training day. So I want to get that on your radar so you're aware of that. And that is about what's going on in the library. It's a little chilly out, so you can come in and get warm and read a good book with us. Happy New Year again.
Thank you. Now, we have the City of Hawaiian Gardens video presentation of city events.
Les doy la grata bienvenida a nuestra cena anual, reconociendo a nuestros voluntarios.
Every one of you help change the lives of those who participate in our programs, and for that we are very grateful.
And now, if we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Now let's welcome the Haseen Dance Company.
You know, 56 volunteer men, women, and children contributed a total of 8,994 volunteer hours in 2019. I think that's an amazing number. Let's give them a round of applause.
So from the senior program with Anna and Teresa, can you guys also step forward? Okay, we're going to continue with the next group of volunteers. These are from Leeward Pool in the special events.
And now I would like to announce the Volunteers of the Year. This recipient, a longtime resident who is always here assisting the Senior Center, the Recreation Department, and the special events with over 500 of community service, over 500 hours of community service. Let's welcome our volunteer of the year 2019, Graciela Laguna.
Mi nombre es Graciela Laguna, el apellido de mi esposo, y soy residente de aquí de Hawaiian Garden desde el 95. Pues yo creo que lo más importante que a mí me ha pasado, que cuando yo llego, la mayoría me brindan una sonrisa, y esa sonrisa para mí es un tesoro. De 10 a 12 años. De 10 a 12 años, desde el principio que yo llegué aquí a esta ciudad, vine y tuve el privilegio de conocer a Teresa Nava y ella me recibió con una sonrisa como siempre lo es, porque ella es una persona muy, muy fina en ese aspecto de tratar a las personas y yo me he sentido muy a gusto con ella.
She's not here tonight, but still going to give her a round of applause.
Tonight, although she's not here, Graciela Laguna is receiving a congratulatory letter from the president, a gold medallion, a gold coin, a pin, and a personalized certificate. Once again, thank you, Graciela.
Now we go to public comments. This is the time for members of the audience to come forward to address the city council on items on and not on the agenda, but within the city's council subject matter jurisdiction. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening. Reynaldo Rodriguez, 21402 Juan Avenue, Hawaiian Gardens. I just want to know why Mayor Alvarado was so interested in sending our city employees to a seminar sponsored by Landmark Forum. It is a 3-day seminar and it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you look online on Google, you will find that there's pros and cons against those seminars by Landmark. Some say it's great, some say it's a cult, some say it's brainwashing. So why were our employees forced to attend seminars at our taxpayers' expense? And what was the total cost? There are only 2 employees listed on the warrants under Landmark. One is our mayor, Mr. Alvarado, and who recruited all other employees to attend the seminars. So what budget did you use to send these employees on weekends to attend the seminars? And how many? What was the complete cost? Because I think you stopped sending them, maybe you ran out of money or so. And why were the other employees who attended were not listed on the Landmark, on the warrants? Where are they listed at? Or what budget are they using? And so are you hiding something? So I'm requesting a copy of the invoices paid by the city to our city employees to attend the seminars under the Information Act. I know that this Trump-type government that we have right now will force employees later on to come up and tell us how great the seminars were. But I'm advising the employees that you have nothing to fear, that hopefully sooner or later we're going to have a change in a union where you will be well protected. Thank you.
Francis Rodriguez, I live on Britton Street. And in going over those warrants, according to ordinance number 191, section 3.16.023, that was signed and ordered on February 10th, 1976, when I worked here, it states in there that the warrants have to provide the names and the employees that attend, that spent that money. It says it on that section. So if you need to go review that, you need to review that and fix the one that's up there right now, because it doesn't have all the names. It has HT on certain ones, Hank Trimble, yeah. The abbreviations, it has certain departments, admin, it has things like that, but it doesn't specify. It only specified you. Anyways, that's one thing I didn't like. And also, Hank, you requested 2 items to be put on the next agenda on November the 12th last year. And guess what? They never were put on the agenda. One of them was relating to parking issues. The other one was public safety. You had requested it, and nobody put it on the agenda. So, and this Landmark place, I looked it up to see what it was. It's like an empowerment group. What does that have to do with the city? I don't understand why you're spending all this money on that. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone. First, I'd like to say that I've been following up with our new trash company, and they have not yet been able to give us a bill for November, December, or January. This, I'm certain, is creating a hardship for that company as well as for their employees who are relying on paychecks. I don't think anybody's not been paid yet, but we're in the middle of an awful mess. That part of it is what we've created by having the other company pick up our trash. The coming problem could be that if we have not yet been billed for trash pickup for 3 months, there are many other commercial industries and possibly residential people that have not received bills for their trash pickup. And a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. And if you turn around and hit them with a 3 or 4 month bill for some type of utility service all at once, you're going to create a hardship for them. So I don't know if the city can get involved or help get this thing straightened out, but it's important that our residents know that if you have not been billed for trash, you will be billed for the November, December, and January. And when you get the bill, it's going to be a multi-month bill. I'm sure they're going to work with us, but it could be a problem. So I'd like you guys to be aware of that for all of our citizens. This training, if you have good training and you're sending multiple people to it, a lot of times you can bring it in-house and do it on regular work hours, which is a better benefit. I don't know enough about it to speak to any of the other issues, but I'm concerned about that. And now consent calendar is separate time to speak, correct? Or it's now? Okay. So consent calendar on the 90-day extension for the Pacific Gardens Medical Center. I did a quick calculation. With this, they will have been extended 965 days. That's almost 3 years. Maybe before you approve this extension, you should get together with them, find out if it's permits or whatever, and see what can be done to resolve it so this thing can get moving, you know. Do it or don't do it, one or the other, but this holdoff is affects a lot of people. And I think that's about all I had this evening. Thank you very much. Have a great 2020.
Do we have any more speakers? Public comments are now closed. We go to public hearings. Ordinance number 588, second reading and adoption. Ordinance amending the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code, Title 15, to adopt by reference and amend the 2020 Los Angeles County Building Code, Electrical Code, Mechanical Code, Plumbing Code, Residential Code, Existing Building Code, and Fire Code. Do we have staff report?
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this is a cycle that we do every 3 years, which is we adopt LA County codes by reference. So every 3 years, the state comes out with their version of the minimum standards, and then we wait for the county to adopt their own code, which is something that we do by reference. The county adopted their code on November 26, 2019, and as a result of the timing and the going dark and the holidays and all that, we were kind of forced to adopt an urgency ordinance, which pretty much we've already done, and it's already effective as of the date that we prepared the urgency ordinance, which I believe was December 10th. Concurrently with the urgency ordinance, we run a regular ordinance, which is the one that's here before you now, and so tonight is the public hearing where we would receive any type of testimony, as we are required to conduct public hearings for any adoption of any county codes. So we typically adopt the county codes, which is basically the state code plus the county code, which are amendments that are more specific to LA County for seismic and geographic conditions. So we're basically recommending approval of ordinance number 588. We recommend that you hold a hearing first, though. If you have any questions, I brought the building official here.
I now open the public hearing. Please come forward to at this time to make any comments for or against. There be no public hearing comments. Public hearing is now closed. Are there any questions from council? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussions? Those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries. We now continue with consent calendar. Does any council member want to pull an agenda item from the consent calendar for separate discussion?
I'd like to pull B3.
Like to pull B2. No one else? I have a motion to approve the agenda as amendment to exclude items for separate discussion.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar minus B3.
Yes, I pull B2.
B2.
Mayor, if I may, the consent calendar only has B2 and B3. And since they've both been pulled, there's actually nothing to approve via consent. Oh, sorry. Oh, I have B4. Sorry. Apologies.
She hasn't been here in a year.
So we have a motion. I'll second the motion.
Okay, all those, any opposed? All those in favor say,
I don't have it either.
okay, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So, Ernie, you have a comment on B2?
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council. I just wanted to make sure there are some streets that have not been discussed or approved by the City Council. They're proposed by staff. So I want Joe to kind of outline them so that we're on the same page. Go ahead, Joe.
Members of the City Council, annually we always have a new batch of streets that we will try to rehabilitate and improve by resurfacing or re-slurry sealing. You've already considered, and this would be for the 1920 fiscal year, you've already considered some of the streets already, as some of these streets are being funded by special funds such as SB1, which you've already authorized those streets, and CDBG, which you've also authorized those specific streets. So we really treat this as one project. So we have a new batch of streets that we're going to merge together as one capital improvement project. And so the new streets that we are recommending per the pavement management plan is Civic Center Drive, Violetta, between Violetta and Norwalk, Norwalk Boulevard between Centralia and Carson Street, Farlow Street between Claretta to the end of the street, Claretta Avenue, 221st Street to the end of the street, Canada Drive, Hawaiian to the end, Ibex Avenue from 223rd to 226, Schultz Drive, 214th Street to the end of the street, and Cortner Avenue from 226th Street to the South City limit. Some of the couple of streets that were added per a council request was Farlow and Canada. We also looked at 215th Street, so I did add a paragraph regarding 215th Street, and that's a special circumstances where that street there is a private road. So we have been in contact with property owners. We've sent multiple letters. We've had staff go out there and visit after hours. We haven't been successful in trying to get them to agree to do any type of improvements on that street. And furthermore, they had indicated that they were not interested, at least one property owner. Lakewood also indicated in an email that they were not interested in opening up that street at all. So it's something that could still be looked into, but it's not part of this batch. This is a batch of all by itself, the 1920. And again, you've already approved 1 through 8 already through previous city council actions. Really what we're doing is approving 9 through 16, which are the streets that I've already outlined. And so basically this will be treated as one capital improvement project, one bid, plan and specifications. And so the anticipated project cost or available funds is $1,051,000. And basically all we're asking is that you authorize to conduct the design phase of this, and we're going to adhere to the city council policy where I believe it's infrastructure that does the design work and Wildan does the contract management. So this is so that we can get a consensus on the streets that we're going to pave, and we've already have solicited or had been solicited by certain requests by council. Cortner also was in here. That was a prior street that was on a prior fiscal year, and we had some issues there because it's a shared street with Long Beach. So we got them to commit to fix their portion of the street. So they've committed about $50,000 for Courtner Avenue. So we have repair issues there as well, and we've included that in this batch. So at this point, we're just asking you to approve us to conduct the design portion of this. Once it's designed, we come back, we approve plans and specs, and then we go out to bid, and then you award a contract.
So, Honorable Mayor, Member City Council, you're asking for contracting of design, correct? The engineering?
We're asking you to authorize us to prepare plans and specifications. We follow the standard protocol of infrastructure doing the design work.
So
Will
before
then
we
does the
before we take a vote on this, can we hold off until we can verify that there's no conflicts from individual council members based on the streets? We can move on to the next item, and then Joe can verify that, and then we can come back for a vote and vote accordingly, depending on who's conflicted. Because there is new streets. So the other thing I wanted to point out is those streets that Joe has entered, the new ones, do reflect any complaints from the residents or the residents that approach City Council about amending certain streets or making some modifications to some of them. So that should be incorporated as part of that project area. But if you want, we can go on to the next item while we verify conflicts and then bring this item back for a vote.
I did have a question for 215th. What was the plan to pursue that?
So
is that the private?
That's the private.
Okay,
road,
go
correct.
ahead. So Joe will brief you on, summarize where we're at. There's some obstacles, but Joe can tell you where we're at. Joe?
So 215th Street
Wait,
is
hold
a.
on. If it's within 500 feet, we should hold that discussion until we verify whether there's a conflict, just so that we don't inadvertently discuss any issues.
I'm sorry.
I imagine I had to recuse myself because one of the properties is on 214th Street.
Let me verify that. I have Schultz Drive between 214th Street to the end. So basically, the former redevelopment project, I believe that is on 214th Street. You're on 213th. I'd have to, you know, I have an idea where everybody lives. I'd have to go to the GIS application and measure 500 feet out. I think it's quite a bit of ways from this particular location, but to be exact, sure, I'd have to go to the GIS map and measure 500 feet. I mean, if we can hold off and I can come back to it, I'll just go to the machine and double check it real quick.
So we'll continue the item till later in the meeting, and we'll go on to B3 while Mr. Colombo can check on that.
I think that's mine too.
Okay, B3 resolution number 001-2020, approving a request by the Pacific Garden Medical Center to allow an additional 90-day extension of the time period allowed for a temporary interruption of the use associated with existing entitlements for the hospital operation located at 21530 Pioneer Boulevard.
So, Honorable Mayor, Member City Council, I'll give a briefing of kind of just where we're at. Obviously, you've seen this on your agenda 4 times or so. Essentially, they want to protect the entitlements that they received thus far until they get the approvals from the state to operate as a hospital. So, I can answer questions related to that. It's a question because of the delay.
Yes, I have questions because it's been 3 years. And they've been getting extensions, but yet they're shooting movies there. There's a series going on there, and I hear all the women are saying, because one of the actors is supposed to be like a big actor, right? Handsome and everything else. And
I was there. I think they're confused. No, so they are shooting.
So I'm saying they're shooting movies, so they're making money off the property. And but we wanted a hospital. I mean, I went to court with them 3 years ago with Mr. Singh, the doctor who owns many hospitals up north. He was saying he had a lot of money to open this up and put us everything we need here, including an emergency room. I've been going there every 6 months for the last 3 years for updates, and I was there just 2 months ago, and they told me they're going to combine with another big money man and have it done within 90 days or so. So, but now they're asking for another extension. So I'd like to have a representative from them come here and tell us what's going on, because we're not going to let them make money off our hospital by making movies and not supplying any service to our residents as they proposed 3 years ago.
Okay, I'll reach out to them. But essentially, that's what they're doing. They're protecting their entitlements so that they don't
So
lose
could we
those.
table this extension until we hear from them? Can it come
really,
back?
it's really council discretion. I mean, so you thus far have extended these as a courtesy to them so they don't lose their entitlements. Obviously, if they lose their entitlements, they have to start all over.
Mhm.
So
But
that's,
is it
that's
really
the danger.
effort on their part to open a hospital? Are they happy with movie stars?
Sorry. So let's continue so they don't lose their entitlements, because obviously that can have some detrimental impacts to the long-term future of the project. Because otherwise, I believe they would start over in some regard. The issue, as I understand it, is, and forgive me if I have the incorrect terms, but there was some obligation to provide community health care, which is free health care, right? And there was a disagreement between how much of that, the dollar value of that, and that's been an ongoing negotiation with the state of California. And until they figure that out, that is the major reason why they haven't opened up. But I can certainly continue it and speak to the management staff about coming and presenting to the city council if they want you to consider an extension to tell you what's going on.
So if I could jump in and make a recommendation. So they've asked for March 31st, so perhaps you could grant them an extension to get to your next council meeting, to have a representative there to protect their entitlements for 2 weeks so that they don't have any issues in the meantime. Would that be
That'd be
okay
great.
to you?
That'd be
So-
fine with me if it's okay with
if it's-
council.
So then we would modify this resolution to say, I think the next meeting is January 28th. So we would modify the resolution to reflect that they are extended through January 28th. And then it'll come back to council at that time, and you can have that discussion that you were just talking about.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept or to extend until January 28th, 001-2020.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
If the city council wants to go back to that item, I can give an update. So that would be B2.
We're coming back to B2.
Okay, so the council member Victor Farfan's house is 490 feet from the Schultz Drive.
Is Councilmember Roa?
I did not check, Councilmember. I only checked part. I'm not sure where your house is at, sir.
Oh, okay.
If you can provide an address, and I'll look it up.
Can you hand Lucy your address, and we will go on to the next agenda item, and we'll come back to this one again.
We'll continue with C5, the discussion items. Resolution number 002-2020, approving and authorizing the city manager to execute the Southern California Edison Company's energy efficient light emitting diode fixture replacing rate agreement. We have staff report.
Mr. Colombo will present.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this is an item at the request of, I believe it was Council Member Victor Farfan. If I'm not mistaken, that had requested to be agendized. It's a program that Southern California Edison has, and that is to basically replace all the high-pressure sodium street lights to an LED energy-efficient bulb. Edison has a program that basically, over a period of 20 years, you will realize a cost savings. It's about $327 per light bulb to replace. So in the first 20-year period, there would be a cost savings of about $8,800, and then post 20 year, the cost savings would be $21,173. I believe there's about 700 just a little over 700 bulbs out there. These Edison streetlight, the poles themselves, are owned by Edison. Okay, so the city cannot make any, cannot change the bulbs on their own. So if we are interested in going to an energy light bulb, it's going to have to be done by Edison. If there is an interest to replace them from the high pressure sodium to the LED energy efficient bulb. So the cost per bulb is built into the actual monthly rate, so there's no upfront cost from the city. There is if I could have the city clerk hand out I left a colored chart there.
It's been distributed to the
Okay,
council.
so if this is something that the city council is interested in doing, we do have to decide the color of the light bulb. So based on the color chart, with the red side being warmer and the blue side being cooler, there are two options: is either a 3,000 Kelvin option or a 4,000 Kelvin option. The high pressure sodium bulbs that are out there right now are more towards a 3,000 temperature. If you want to go more on the wider scale, then it'll be a 4,000. So that is a decision that would have to be made by the city council when we fill in the paperwork and submit it to Edison.
How long will it take to replace all of the bulbs?
I believe they said about a month's time.
And I want to thank Mr. Farfan for
But I
bringing
believe-
that.
Oh, okay, good. I have a Edison rep. I didn't realize he showed up. So we can have the technical questions addressed to the Edison representative.
Sure.
Thank you for showing up, sir.
Of course. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Glad to be here. My name is John King.
Who's this?
Oh, you bet. Okay.
Who's this then?
Okay. Good evening. First off, I bring greetings from my community. I'm actually the mayor of Covina, so wanted to make sure and bring greetings from my council and my colleagues and all the good folks of Covina. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Your staff is absolutely correct. There is a choice between the 3,000 and the 4,000 K. That's not wattage, so not to be mistaken with the different levels of wattage, 100-watt lights and 200-watt lights, things of that nature. This is the actual color temperature. So as noted, the current high-pressure sodium lamps that are there today are in the 2,400 range. 3,000 is still a warm white, if you will, and the 4,000 K is more of it isn't in the blue spectrum, but it is much whiter looking. Quite honestly, we've been recommending that cities go with the 3,000 K because it is more pleasing. It's a little bit akin to what you have here in your city council chambers. So it's a nice looking light. The human eye sees very well beneath these, so the safety benefits are really significant, and they just work really well. They're energy efficient, they last a long time, and I think you'll be very pleased with them. Questions, I'm glad to answer.
Are there any negatives with going with 4,000K?
I'll tell you, the communities where we've installed 4,000K tend to be the communities where we've gotten some complaints. The 3,000K lights tend to be more pleasing. They're a little more like what's there today. You still get the safety benefits in terms of color rendering is the technical term, so you're able to see beneath these lights and discern colors where you couldn't really do that beneath the high-pressure sodium lights. So I think it's really more of an issue of what's more aesthetically pleasing. I'll tell you that we went with the 4,000K in Covina initially. We wouldn't do it again. We would have gone with the 3,000. We didn't have that option at the time. We would have gone with the 3,000 in Covina had it been an option at the time.
So you indicated that's similar to what we have now. Is that what you? And in terms of this room, or outside in terms of the streets?
The 3,000K look pretty much, these are warm white lights, what you have here this evening. So it'd be more along the lines of these. Couldn't tell you exactly the color temperature, but my guess is they're probably somewhere just a little bit more than 3,000K.
These are 3,200.
There you go. I was pretty darn close.
And Joe, currently, do we know what we have in terms of the intersections? Because I know we do have some white lights in the major corridors. The 4,000.
So the safety lights that are right above the traffic control lights are 4,000.
And those wouldn't be changed because those are owned by the city, of course.
I had a question or comment. I remember, I haven't been on Vern Street in a long time, but when I used to go on Vern Street, those lights, they didn't light up the street. Now, is it because those lights are old or?
Well, the one thing that we're going to be looking at, and I've already been in conversation with the Public Works Superintendent, is I asked were there any streets that needed some potential increase in lighting. So they were just going to replace like for like in terms of wattage. There is the possibility of increasing the wattage. We do have a request from the Public Safety Commission to look at Tilbury and Norwalk. So we'll have to look at what's there now, and if there's potential to increase the wattage, we'll look at that. It's going to be a small cost in energy, but it's very minimal. So we did talk to the superintendent, who's more familiar with the area. So if there's an area that we need to look at, we'll investigate it to see if there's an opportunity to increase it, because now would be the time to do it. It's small cost, but it's worth looking into.
It's worth looking into. Thank you very much, and you're already ahead of me. Okay, good job.
Yeah, I just see this as a public safety issue in terms of, we want to make sure that the residents of our community feel safe. They could walk when they want at night. And I think also, in addition to that, from an aesthetic standpoint, it just kind of gives the city a more modern feel. So I hope that we'll get council to move forward on this action. So thank you. Well, from my perspective, if the gentleman here, if it's gone through the process and he's saying 3,000, then I would move forward with that. So it's open for discussion. So
I like the 3,000 from hearing he went 4,000 and wasn't pleased with it. So I'll go with his experience.
I agree. I think he's the expert. He knows better. He already told us. So I'm okay with the 3,000.
I will make the comment, though, that I don't really like that the lights don't match our city lights. So our city lights are white, and then the street lights are like a warm white, yellowish tint.
Well, and I also believe along Carson, the beautification is white LED lights.
Right. So right now it doesn't match.
So I'll give you an example. Downey did that, I forgot what it's called now, Downey Landing or whatever. And along that district, they call it, they used only white lights. Everywhere else, there's yellow, warm lights. So we could certainly do that, where we put, I think, can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I should have mentioned that earlier. So if you would like to utilize, the way we typically break it down is for main streets, arterials, if you'd like to utilize the 4,000 K lights there, we can certainly do that and place the 3,000 K only in residential areas. The way that works on a kind of a practical basis is anything that's 100 watts or lower, which is typically a residential street, would get the 3,000 K. Anything that's over 100 watts, so again, typically on collectors, arterials, things of that nature, we could place the 4,000. And that's perfectly acceptable. Glad to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes sense, especially being that it's like our corridors, like Carson and our main streets. You want it to be brighter, and you also want it to make a difference as far as the residential area. You don't want them as bright because it's also people. If you're too close to the light poles, it may bother certain residents.
Okay, so we'll focus the 4K on Norwalk and Carson, but now you say that the question is Pioneer. Pioneer is considered a bigger street, but it runs into residential in our city. So I thought Pioneer is soft lights, but yeah, okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 002-2019 with Carson and Norwalk 4,000 K and everything else 3,000 K. 002-2020.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
We now go to C6, resolution number 003-2020, approving a contract with Castle Amusements for the 2020 City's 56th anniversary carnival. Do I have staff report?
Yes,
Mayor and members of City Council, just before Steve provides some details, this is on there because we had questions in the past about this provider, and essentially on an annual basis, we're going to bring this contract to you for discussion in case there's areas that we need to improve. I will say the contractor's been responsive to the issues that have come up over the years. So hopefully you've seen better customer service in that regard. But Steve can provide some details related to the contract, and this is a year-for-year contract. So,
yes, thank you. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, staff is in the process planning for this year's city celebration, which will take place in April of 2020. The event will consist of a 3-day carnival from Friday, April 17 through Sunday, April 19. In your staff report is a contract proposal from Castle Amusements. As Mr. Hernandez mentioned, we've used them the past several years. They've provided great customer service as well as very exciting rides. The carnival highlights include that Castle will provide 12 to 15 rides, a food booth, as well as 3 to 6 game booths. Staff is recommending that we approve this contract with Castle so that we can begin the process of planning for this year's event. Please note that the City Attorney's Office did review, revise, and propose the contract with Castle.
Does council have any comments, any questions?
Well, I like Castle. I think they got great rides, great paint jobs on everything. I mean, they make it look colorful. I think it's a lot of fun.
If I may add to Steve's presentation, also there's not very many vendors out there as far as amusement, so it's very difficult to find. I myself helped out with finding some of these vendors, and there's not very many out there. So I think it would be at this point probably too late to try to change them, just to the fact of the timing, and also, like I said, there's not enough out there.
And I also want to add that I really appreciate that last year they allowed for the wristbands.
Yes, sorry, I failed to announce that. They are, again, this year proposing wristbands, same price of $25, unlimited rides on Sunday afternoon.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 003-2020.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. We now go to C7, a request from Mayor Alvarado to discuss a notice of funding availability released by the California Department of Housing and Community Development for the Call Home program. So I requested this item to be put on the agenda, and staff will provide a staff report.
yes, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, discuss this item with the mayor, and there's essentially $57 million available for loans to people to fix their no-interest loans or forgiveness loans, a variety of different programs to fix their homes, rehab homes. We have some monies, as you know, for that program now, but those monies will expire or will be exhausted at some point. And so this is an opportunity to get up to $5 million for Hawaiian Gardens for these resources. Staff's reached out to a couple of consultants. What are the names, Joe? That
Michael Baker and Blias.
And Blaze and Associates, so people that really target these kind of monies. So we're seeking authority. First, are you interested as a city council to seek this funding? And second, provide me authority to enter into an agreement to have somebody apply for and try to get this funding. Staff will try to seek qualifying dollars, so this may actually be a qualifying expenditure for SRA or housing, but regardless of the funding source, we're seeking authority to push forward with this grant.
Any discussions?
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
There's no resolution, but basically your consent is okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was me.
We're not going back to B2.
Okay, so I believe the mayor would have a conflict on B2. We are going to be slurry sealing Ibex Avenue between 223rd and 226. I'm sorry? Well, yeah. I think you're okay.
So I have the attorney kind of give you the options here.
So it sounds like there's just two conflicts. Is that where we are? Okay, so if there's only two conflicts, we still have enough to go forward with a vote. In which case, could you each just announce into the record that you are within 500 feet of one of the impacted streets and therefore are recusing yourself, which is what the Political Reform Act requires you to do?
So I'll be recusing myself because I'm within 500 feet of the area.
I'm recusing myself because I am within 500 feet of the affected areas.
Okay, Joe, so going back to the item and to answer your question, Councilmember Maravilla, regards 211? 215. So Joe, can you provide a briefing of what we've done there?
I'm sorry?
Or how will we proceed? Because I did read the staff report, but are we
Right.
still going to look
Well, if
into
you give that direction to proceed, so basically what we've done so far is we've written letters, we've gone out there after hours. Also, this was something that we pursued in 2013 as well, and even then they had indicated no. So I know one of my staff members did talk to one of the residents. One of them was interested, one was not. In fact, they were adamant about they did not want to open up the street. So in order to,
What is the rationale with not opening up the street?
it's their own private roadway. They didn't want no through traffic. And we've been in communication with Lakewood for other issues as well, and they've indicated that they did not want to see the roadway open, which that's a separate issue. Nevertheless, I don't have consent from the four property owners agreeing to dedicate any of that land so that we can repair the road. So in the absence of doing that, there are other options, but I'm not sure that you would be interested in pursuing those options. But for public purposes, you can utilize eminent domain, okay? There's also code enforcement options as well, but I don't think at today it's warranted to pursue any code enforcement options for having a street that's in need of repair. It doesn't pose a life safety issue or detriment to any of the pedestrians or vehicles or structures. That doesn't mean that it's down the road it won't be, but I've discussed this extensively with the city prosecutor. And we don't believe it's warranted. So the only option really is eminent domain, but they're not interested at the present time of opening up that street or dedicating that street for the purposes of getting their improvements done by the city. That doesn't mean that we can't continue the dialogue. You can still direct us to continue that dialogue. It's been a challenge to try to communicate with some of the residents, but we do have one resident in particular that they were adamant about not wanting to having to dedicate that road to the city, and indicated that she would be petitioning the rest of the residents to go against it.
Mr. Colombo, are there easement agreements on these properties?
There's some reciprocal, they're not really exactly reciprocal agreements. There are some easements there, but for their own purposes, but only on 3 parcels and not the other. So one of them is missing any easement at all.
Okay. The city is not a party to those agreements?
No.
Okay.
They're not for road purposes. We had the city engineer look at that. But again, we can still continue the dialogue. It's just that I didn't want to hold up the 1920 capital improvement project overlay. As you know, we have deadlines with these special funds. That doesn't mean that we can't still go out there and try to, have these discussions with the property owners. Some of them are absentees. One is a foreigner. So we do need to try to continue to engage that dialogue if we want to still pursue this.
Members of City Council, I think tonight we can approve as is. and then we can bring this specific issue back with pictures. Councilmember Maravilla is real familiar with the project now. I'm not sure that all 5 of the other council members are. So anybody that's not conflicted, we'll bring this item back. And then the attorney can look at, so there's a couple potential options, so she can have time to look at that and research that. Obviously, some of those residents, just motivation, they essentially have a private street. And so that may be the motivation, right? For residents that can't take advantage of that, it cuts off their ability to go in through the other side of the street. And, so,
and there's no sidewalk.
Yes.
So if there's a resident that lives in that vicinity and they wanted to take a shortcut to get to Melbourne, they couldn't. They couldn't get to Melbourne. So I do encourage my colleagues to visit 215th on Bellshire.
We'll bring it back as an item.
Okay,
once
sounds
the attorney
good.
researches all the
Sure.
options. Okay.
So I would actually like to bring it back, but more than, if it's not with regards to the street, potentially a sidewalk or even a walkway, because right now there's just it's blocked, right?
It's blocked, and there's sidewalks that kind of disappear into asphalt.
Yeah,
And-
there's a barricade, so there's no through traffic through the Lakewood side. And it's on the city side, though.
And there are some code enforcement issues there. So we'll bring the item back. Okay.
So do I have a motion to approve with the exemption of 215th Street?
Yep.
Yeah, 215th is not on there at this point, so you would be approving the resolution in its entirety, unless there's some changes.
So I motion to approve the FY 2019-2020 street improvement project.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Are there any committee reports? No, is there any new business?
I have something to say. For the last 5 years, we've had a National Day of Prayer, and the city has a budget set aside for that, and that's coming up in a few months. So New Hope Church, for the last 2 years, has been setting it up. Getting donations and setting the food up and things like that. So are we going to have it this year? And is it okay if New Hope continues doing it?
Councilmember Trimble is referring to New Hope has hosted the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Because it's secular, the city cannot take a lead. It's got to be, it's usually we reach out to some churches, and New Hope has done it for the last 2 years. So they seek out sponsors, and they provide the dinner, and they essentially do all the administrative procedures, but then open it up for the mayor to make comments. And it's a city-sponsored program also. The city contributes to the program, but New Hope has been taking the lead on the function. And so.
I'd rather have this conversation outside the council meeting. Is that okay?
Wait, excuse me?
To have the conversation outside the council meeting, is that what you said? Or can we talk about it? I mean, what the colleagues...
The item's not agendized, but so you can't have a full discussion right now. You can briefly respond, or you can have it agendized for a future meeting.
Yeah, but it's an ongoing thing. So just consensus will we'll start it so we could start advertising.
But the council can't take an action on it because it's not agendized tonight.
Okay, then let me agendize it for next meeting, please.
Okay.
And one more thing. I know there's a JPA meeting tomorrow, and I'd like to have that as a discussion item next meeting to get an update on it.
Are there any oral staff reports?
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, Members of City Council, a couple of reports here. Currently, we're under construction with the 1819 street overlay project. There are 3 streets that are going to be overlaid tomorrow: 211th Street, 213th Street, and Bellshire Avenue. Obviously, tomorrow is trash pickup day, so those streets will be picked up first, and then the contractor will deal with the receptacles, and hopefully residents can help out as well. But so that is scheduled for tomorrow. Also, an update on the camera project that is under construction right now. Fetty Sports Complex and the Public Safety Building is complete. The street surveillance camera is not. It may take about another month or so. We've had some hiccup issues with Norwalk and Centralia. The traffic control panel that controls that intersection is located in Lakewood. Lakewood has denied our request to put any type of wiring or access in that panel. So we had to change location, and I believe we're using the location located in front of the fire department, being that that street is entirely within the city of Lakewood. Also, another challenge we had was Bloomfield and Carson Street. The entire wiring system there will need to be replaced, so we were on back order for some wiring for that traffic signal as well. Nevertheless, we anticipate hopefully within a month we'll be up and running, but we do have the two other locations up and running at this point. Also, January, let me get my date here, 22nd, there will be a public hearing before the Planning Commission for the quasi-casino hotel. So that one's scheduled for January 22nd. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any oral council reports?
Sorry, Mayor, we have another staff, and I have a staff comment too.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, I would like to invite everyone from the public to please come to City Hall during our regular business hours to come and see the the ballot marking device that is here at our City Hall during our business hours 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We actually have a representative from the county here that can assist with the demonstration of using the machine. You don't currently have to be a registered voter, but please come down because at some point you may become a registered voter and join us for that. The machines will be here through the end of the month. Also, I just want to remind everyone it is an election year, so please register to vote. The deadline is February 18th, and there is a subsequent election coming up March 3rd. Thank you.
For the benefit of the public and the City Council, tomorrow they'll be repaving 211 and 213th as part of the previous cycle. Staff contacted the trash company, so put out your trash cans if it's on your street. They'll pick it up at 6 in the morning before the repaving starts. And so that way there's no inconvenience of folks not putting out the trash cans. And then secondly, I notified the City Council of this incident. It's made some news media with regards to, we had a sewer leak on Sunday along Carson Street. The deputies discovered it, sheriff's deputies discovered it. They called our staff in. Our staff responded and determined that it was actually a sewage leak. And so as a result, LA County Sewer Department was contacted. We pay them, we contract with them to maintain and service our sewer system in the city. And so they remedied the situation after about an hour or so, but there was enough sewage leaked into the storm drain that they reported to the state of California as required. And unfortunately, more importantly, enough of the sewage entered the storm drain that they closed down the beaches in Long Beach. And so this happened on Sunday. There was enough of the waste that it made an impact. Obviously, there's testing, those kinds of things that will have to happen before they open up the beaches. But the city's name has been mentioned in these news articles, so I wanted to make sure that everybody's informed. There is a contact number with LA County Department of Public Works that we'll put on the website in case any else questions comes up. We put out a press release with regards to the information we have right now. There's still no culprit per se as far as what exactly happened, other than it was grease. Grease backed up the sewer lines and caused the running into Carson Street. And so I wanted to make sure that you were aware and the public was aware of the situation, and we'll put a contact number on the website so that in case questions comes up, we know. Okay, thank you.
Are there any oral council reports?
Yes, I have one. I went to Sacramento last week and got to speak to some senators. And the senators that we spoke to, it was with California League of Cities, which was about 120 cities, 78 cities, League of California.
488 cities.
Yeah, a lot of it. It was the biggest turnout I've ever seen with them, and it was very organized. We all were Southern Californians going down there to talk to the senators because all the senators from Northern California, they want us to build 5 stories high, and they're saying, don't worry about parking, just build because you need homes. And so we told them, because they're all from San Francisco, and that way, where they all build high, and they're saying, listen, you don't got to worry about parking because the only one that's going to rent these are millennials, and they don't believe in cars. They do Uber and they do public transit. And I told them, listen, the millennials I know, they have their own cars. They like their own independence. Yeah, if they're going to go out Friday night, they'll get an Uber so they won't get a DUI, but they have cars. So we finally got to talk to the people that are making these laws. So now they're saying this. They're going to revise it where wherever there's a train they're putting trains in, like in Artesia. A half a mile from that train station, they're going to make them build 5 stories high. So we might be okay, but that's in the making. So I thought it was very interesting. Another interesting thing is I had to show my ID at the airport, and they told me this. They said, this ID, it's a real ID, but they got another thing called the real ID, and you're going to need it if you want to travel from state to state in California. So I thought that was interesting. So if next time you renew, you better make sure you got the real ID. It has different markings on it, they told me, so interesting.
Yeah, you have to go with your passport or additional documentation.
Yes. Yeah, they told me to go online, and they'll tell me what to bring to the DMV. They said you cannot get this if you do it through the mail. You have to go in person. They got to see your face. I said, all right. So that's my report.
Okay, now we're going to...
one more thing. I'm sorry. New Hope is having their 6th year anniversary. They've been serving the city for 6 years, and they're inviting everyone to come out Saturday, January 25th at 6 p.m. to help us celebrate. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a closed session. Madam, please introduce the closed session item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council will now convene in closed session pursuant to the item listed on the agenda under Government Code Section 454956.8, real property negotiations.
The City Council meeting is reconvened from closed session at 7:40 p.m. Thank you. Please report back from closed session.
The City Council met in closed session pursuant to the item listed on the agenda. No reportable action was taken.
There being no further business, I hereby adjourn this meeting at 7:40 p.m. until our next regular meeting to be held on Tuesday, January 28, 2020 at 6 p.m.